Good evening and welcome to the Independence City Council meeting. It's Tuesday, September 8th, 2020. Let the record show that councilors are here. Kathy Martin Willis, I believe, will be joining us shortly, but everybody else is here and happy. Just want to take a moment and ask our friends that are watching today and our council members to put your thoughts and prayers together for our friends up the Sandium Canyon, specifically in Gates and Mill City. They both lost their cities today, and I know many of the people who live up there are finding shelter in hotels and friends' homes throughout the valley. So, and it's not done yet, so please keep those folks. We all know people up that way. Please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Council members, you have the minutes of the August 25th, 2020 meeting. Do they meet with your approval? Was that, I didn't catch something. Somebody said something? Did somebody make a motion?
I move to approve the minutes.
I have a motion.
That.
And a second by Councilor Morton. All in favor, signify.
Aye.
Aye. Is there any opposition? I hear no opposition. Thank you very much. We're going to, under visitor comments, we have nobody out in the foyer, but we did get an email earlier today with a gentleman with a question. I'm going to ask our city manager, Tom Pessimir, to encapsulate the question, and I think staff was able to find an answer.
Yeah, so thank you, Mayor.
I think you're muted. You're still muted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so the question was in regards to the flags that are outside of City Hall. Currently, we have 3 flags. One is a U.S. flag, one is a state flag, and the other is a POW MIA flag. That actually is something that the state requires. It was a bill passed, House Bill 2892, which requires after 2015 that all buildings with flagpoles, with 3 flagpoles, fly all 3 of those flags. It also requires any building constructed after 2015, public building, be required to construct flagpoles and fly those 3 flags. So that's why it's there, and that's why it's up.
Thank you, Mr. Pessimir. Appreciate that. We're going to go on to reports and presentations. We have a previously scheduled, this is something that we have been scheduling for quite some time. Chief Mason will be talking about, and Kimber Townsend will be talking about CERT and community preparedness. I really want to emphasize this has been previously scheduled for some time, and there are all sorts of rumors. There is no danger in Independence, nothing. We just have a lot of smoke. So there's no dangers, there's no reason to be upset or concerned. It's just smoke from other places, and so let's not let rumors get out of control. I'm going to turn this now over to Chief Mason, and he's going to take the ball from here. Chief? You're still muted, Chief. There you go.
Okay, you got me now? Good evening, Mayor, Council. Tonight, I'm here to give you an update on our local CERT program. Polk County CERT, as you are aware, is managed as a program of the Independence Police Department, and it has been operating under the fiscal support of the 3 police departments that are municipal departments entirely within the county, and that's the Independence Police Department, the Monmouth Police Department, and the Dallas Police Department. Recently, Dallas informed us that they were going to have to step away from that program because of some budget cuts necessary within their programs in Dallas. That left us with a deficit because we kind of equally split the costs of the program. Tonight, I am happy to announce to you that the Polk County Fire District has committed to join the program. So we will now have the 2 police departments, Monmouth and Independence, along with the Polk County Fire District, which I think is a really good fit, and it will allow us to prioritize our side of the county and the things that we have going on over here. And we won't be committing to programs over in the city of Dallas or in the greater county. Our current program manager for CERT is Sergeant Lyle Gilbert here at the Independence Police Department. And our program coordinator is Kimber Townsend. Kimber has been the coordinator for, I'm gonna say, over 10 years. She has come to be a subject matter expert in the area industry-wide, and is called upon often by organizations at the state level to assist in matters, not just CERT, but other emergency preparedness type matters. So tonight we are going to try to do a live broadcast of a little preparedness for the community, and give Kimber an opportunity to tell us what she has going on. So I am hopefully going to be able to switch this camera. And
All right. Hopefully everyone can see me and hear me okay. I'm getting a thumbs up, so I'll go for that. Good evening, everybody. I do just want to reiterate what Mayor McArdle said. What we're going to talk about tonight are just some generalities in preparedness and evacuation and preparation. This is not in relation to the current ongoing fires within our area. This is something that's been a heartfelt mission with our Polk County CERT team for quite a long time. In fact, if you want more information at the end of the presentation, you can go to our website at polkcountyscert.org, and you will find a link at the top, a tab that says Get Prepared, that goes to this preparedness guide that we've had going for several years. You can download it and print it for a whole lot more information than just the brief touch I'm going to touch on today as part of our ongoing targets. So within our CERT program, we have two fundamental missions. Our first mission is, of course, our team members ourselves are constantly training and drilling in ways that we can support our first responder agencies if an event ever occurs of such magnitude that their own resources are overwhelmed. We're talking things like a massive Cascadia earthquake, another record 200-year flood, those kinds of things that could push the limits that we can come in and support, and some of the more menial tasks, coordination, that kind of stuff, to assist them so they can free their people up to do more critical needs. Our secondary mission is preparing our community. And that's the one that we take to heart quite a bit. We kind of joke that we're a catch and release program here in Polk County, which means our goal ultimately is to train as many citizens to be resilient themselves in their homes and their vehicles and their workplaces with your families, so that when a big disaster does happen, you don't have to call for help as quickly or as often as maybe folks in other communities who haven't taken that step. So that's a bit of what I want to talk to you about today, is just some basics to start putting together for a kit. Now, I will tell you before I start digging some of this stuff out, this came out of my vehicle, but we actually had to take a can of air and blow dust off of it, because a lot of it just sits there constantly as we go throughout our days. So let me walk you through a few of these things, and we'll talk a bit about them. So first thing is your documentation and things that you need to get your family reestablished as quickly as possible. There's a couple ways to do that. I showed you that preparedness guide earlier. We also are big proponents of this document here too. It's called the EFAC, or Emergency Financial First Aid Kit. You can find it online if you just Google the EFAC, E-F-F-A-K. It is available in up to 7 languages right now, and they're adding more languages every day. This is a plan that walks you through every piece of documentation you need to be able to reconnect with your insurance providers, your medical providers, FEMA assistance if you're eligible, all of those ways to get your family back up and running as quickly as possible. You collect all of it together. You can do it electronically or physically. I recommend both. Send a copy to Aunt Martha in Kansas, so that if all of your documents are destroyed here and whatever the disaster was, she still has copies to send to you, so you can continue along this path to recovery. Don't forget your maps. Always have maps. If I'm traveling, I have more maps. I actually have quite a collection of maps because I travel a lot. Okay, make sure they get updated. Just general note-taking information. You may be listening to an emergency radio and getting alerts of who to follow and what the directions are. You're in an anxiety state. You're not going to remember that off the top of your head. Trust me, something to always write notes and write it down so you can keep it handy. The last piece of documentation I have, sorry, Chief, I'm moving, is this little book that's clipped to my animal carrier, which is kind of our segue there. This has all of my pets' information, the veterinary information, medications, feeding schedule, their names, their microchip numbers if they have it, anything so that worst comes to worst and my animals and I are separated, everything is in here to help me get reunified with my animals. If you've done any pet evacuation planning, you know that if you do take your animals to a shelter, if they're accepting them, you have to be fully self-contained with those animals. So we have food and water, we have blankets, we have leashes and collars, small bags of kitty litter, all those kinds of things that go with us and travel with our pets. We have these kits pre-packed and ready to grab and go. Just pull the stuff out in the bag inside, pull it out, shove the animal in nicely. It's crazy. We're going fast. Take your bag with them. Have all of our supplies. So those are the first two things. We'll start moving across the table a bit. Medical supplies, of course, always a big one here. I have a pre-purchase kit that we've added some stuff to. I have several members of my family who are medically trained, so we do have some higher level stuff here. I would say your kit needs to be to the best of your comfortable ability to provide first aid. Do not go out and buy a bunch of stuff you don't know how to use. Again, when you're in an anxious state, you don't want to have to think about it or read directions. If you start looking at kits and see that there's a lot of stuff there that you don't know how to use, that's your sign that you need to take a class and do some more education, and PolkCert can help with that. Moving on down the line, food and water, a couple different ways to approach this. Stored water products. These have I want to say a 20-year lifespan. I had to look at that bottle. So these sustain for quite a while, but they're a bit of a high investment, volume investment. We don't put the bulk of our money in that. The bulk of our money goes into individual livestock straws or Sawyer straws. Every member of my household has 2 or 3 of those in their vehicle. They keep them in their purse or their backpack with them all the time. We've also invested in a high volume filter. This is a family size, does a gallon at a time. You can get even larger ones. Cost flow is not too much. This runs about $30, especially if you watch the Black Friday sales, which are coming up. Best time to buy disaster supplies, and they make good Christmas presents. So I'll put that little plug out there. All right, so we've got water covered. Food, various ways to do that. Just know that when you buy pre-purchased food, a lot of them, like these meal bars, other commercial products, can be really heavy in carbs, and they get that carbs from a lot of grains. So if you have members of your household who are on special dietary needs, pay attention to the ingredient list on the survival food that you have. One that I have found that does well and is gluten-free and dairy-free and soy-free, so nut-free, so it does help with a lot of those allergies, are these survival tabs. You'll see it's open, not that we survived a disaster, but I will tell you this, as a mom with kids, you can buy all the fancy emergency food you want, but if they aren't gonna eat it, doesn't do any good. So when we find a new product, the first thing we do is have a family taste test, right? Make sure that we're actually gonna wanna eat it when the time comes, because otherwise it's wasted space in my pack. So I think these were the vanilla flavor, they pass muster. So the vanilla flavor on those is okay. Different kinds of tools you'll find a lot on the market to eat with or open your food packaging with. This is a combo knife, spoon, fork. No pack is complete without various kinds of paracord. Make sure it's at least 550 paracord. And if you Google things to do with paracord and get a list, the Boy Scouts has an amazing one. There are 200,000 things to do with these in a myriad of ways. If you have time on your hands to sit around and practice an art, the art of paracording is definitely one of those things. So we've gathered some stuff together and we're going to try to leave our home. Different things can impede your progress as you do that. So different tools that we recommend having on hand. Definitely if you have a member of your household who is okay and comfortable using a chainsaw, that's always a good thing to throw in your truck. Axes as well, if that's what you have. We train on these heavily within the CERT program. It's called the 4-in-1 emergency tool. It turns off water mains, natural gas mains, various kinds of switches and controls that will cover almost all of them. Please do note, you can turn all of your own services off. You can turn your water back on, but you have to have the power company back out to turn your gas back on. So make that decision to turn it off if you have to. Don't make it lightly, or you may be waiting a bit for someone to come turn it back on for you. Collapsible folding shovel, fire along the way, burying personal waste, clearing a spot for a tent or canopy, all kinds of uses for that. Compassing. And if this is something you learned as a child and have never used again as an adult, I had to go through that again, relearn, retrain myself how to use a compass, highly recommend it. It is a lost skill if you don't use it a lot. I'm a creature of comfort. I'm cold all the time, so my pack is heavy on things to keep me warm. We have lots of these spoil emergency blankets. You're only going to use this once as a blanket. Once you take it out of this pack, it will never, 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 ever fold back up into this pack again. Trust me, we've tried. But Mylar is an incredibly strong tensile material, and there are a myriad of uses for it. Again, if you Google how to use for a foil emergency blanket or Mylar blankets, you'll find a whole lot of uses for them. My favorite, because I'm cold, is taking it out and staking it around a fire so it reflects all the heat back onto the 1/3 where I am, and everyone else could be chilly because I get all the heat on my side. I also have a lot of hand warmers and foot warmers in my emergency packs. They are tucked into every nook and cranny of my vehicles, also in my purses and my backpacks. One of my favorite friends is the Pacific Northwest. We get cold. Might not know it today, but the rest of the year we can get cold, all right? Personal safety stuff, N95 masks, we do recommend keeping those in your pack for smoke issues or other personal health issues you may be dealing with, given whatever the situation is that you're in, dust from a post-earthquake, that kind of thing. Emergency whistles, okay? Moving to lighting, there's all kinds of different tools. Here are just some different examples. They're small and they're portable now. You try to avoid things that require batteries. This one winds. We have a flashlight that shakes to charge, so it's a perpetual battery. You don't have to carry batteries to replace the batteries. Much the same way that this radio charges. We'll talk about that. Glow sticks, light and cost effective, especially on those Black Friday, Saturday sales and before Halloween. Not just to light a room, but if you're evacuating and you need to light a way around your campsite. Children who are scared in the dark feel much better with the glow stick in their hand. These also are quite cheap at the dollar store this time of year, just to give your kids a bit of comfort, something to play with, some glow to distract them, as well as helping you keep an eye on them if you're out and about outside as part of this evacuation that you've done or among your home when it's dark. Different ideas. We do recommend keeping a reflective vest of some kind for each member of your family in their Go kit. Again, if you're having to move or leave your home in the dark and you end up at a big shelter or area with lots of people, this will just help you pick your kids out and each other out in that crowd. Don't forget toys and things for your kids to do and you to do if you're killing time. We have cards and dice. We have some other small board games. When you go to Goodwill and find the old little handheld game things, right? Grab some of those for your kids to put them in your kits solely for this purpose. Solar chargers will help you keep those charged in Oregon. Last little bit here I want to talk about is communication. Mentioned this radio earlier. This is a wind to power radio right here. Again, boredom killer for the kids who gets to wind the radio to listen to the music. But it also is your emergency weather information and messaging across multiple channels, so you can still keep in touch with what's going on if all other communication systems have failed. When we start talking about outside communications, there's a lot of ways to go. If you've followed current disaster prepping guidelines or recommendations, especially if you're involved with the CERT program, you're going to hear us talk a lot about encouraging folks to get their ham radio license. There are all different kinds and levels of this. Some of these radios start as low as $25 and can go up. The sky's the limit. You can spend as much as you want to, trust me. The one that we use all the time that we keep in our vehicles was a $60 model. So it wasn't a significant investment for us to be able to speak with each other and learn those skills and do that. If nothing else, simple two-way radios you can pick up at your local store so you can keep in touch with families members. Maybe if you're in different vehicles traveling on the road and you get separated with the car in between. Your kids around campsites, a lot of us, I think, use these already in our daily lives and don't think about keeping an extra set with batteries in our disaster response kit. All of these need to go together in a package that is weatherproof because we're in the Pacific Northwest. So a weatherproof pack or bag is sufficient. We tend to pack these into 5-gallon buckets with lids, and those 5-gallon buckets also become a porta potty when needed once we empty this stuff out. The last thing that's not on here to talk about is clothes. And, you know, I've raised a lot of kids, and it was always a stressful piece for me on, you know, how many times a year when my kids are in growth spurts, so I have to go unpack their go bags and come back and repack it again so I know the clothes fit, or the time of year and the weather it changes. I was watching someone do a presentation online several years ago who said that she doesn't put clothes in her children's go packs. She has taught the kids that if it's time to go and she calls that order out, they go to their dirty clothes basket, grab it, and throw it in their bag. Because if it's in the dirty clothes basket, odds are it's been worn recently enough that it fits and it's weather appropriate for that time of year. She didn't care if her kids had clean clothes, they just needed to have clothes. That is always stuck in my mind and is always a tip I give when I talk to parents about preparing go kits for their kids. There's a lot of stuff I could talk about this, and I know time is short. Again, I encourage you to go to the polkcountyscert.org website and click that Get Prepared tab and pull down that guide. That guide starts from you have 5 minutes to evacuate your house ahead of a fire to you have a year to prep and you want to put together a 3-month supply of food for your family and everything in between. So there's a lot of information out there. Redcross.org also is a great resource. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation tonight. Really appreciate it. And if I take my mask off, it's easier to hear. I see Councilor Kaur with a question, please.
Yes, Mayor, you mentioned that the only danger we have right now is smoke. Is there anything we can do for our homeless population to make sure that they're not suffering in this smoky environment?
I'm going to look. Mr. Pessimer, do you have any thoughts at this point?
Yes, Councilor Kaur. We just this afternoon are starting to reach out to the county and to some of the other providers around here to see what options there are. I don't have any answers right now, but we are looking into it.
Great, thank you. I want to thank Chief Mason and Kimber for taking the time to make a presentation. And this is something I want to reemphasize. This was something we had planned for weeks in advance. It's always good to talk about preparation because I think September is preparation month, and so it's always a good thing to do. So thank you very much. And if you need that website again, just hit the either Facebook or YouTube, and you can find that address again. We're going to continue moving, council members. Under my report, I have two committee appointments, one Nancy Lodge, a reappointment to the library board, and a planning commission appointment of Rebecca J. And you see the Rebecca's application in there, and she does live on South Maple Street in a new part of town. And if you would so approve, I would appreciate it.
Yes, I move to approve Nancy Lodge to reappoint Nancy Lodge to position 4 of the library board and appoint Rebecca J. to position 3 of the planning commission.
Second.
And a second. Who is the second, please?
Either.
A bunch of us.
Councilor Hicks, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I have a motion, second discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And opposed. Hearing no opposition, the motion passes. Under a couple of other reports I'd like to make, Mayor Kuntz from Monmouth and I are going to be meeting with some folks who are healthcare providers in the region. We're going to be talking to them about increasing mental health capacity in our area because there's a real need in that. And so the mayor and I are working together on trying to make that happen. Second thing I want to report is that it's very important that we get everybody to complete the census. This is the last month where census can be completed. So I ask all of you, and especially the folks living that are listening on online, get people to complete the census forms. It makes a real difference. We need to have everybody counted so that we can get the resources for our schools, for our city, for our community. There's significant dollars and cents that go with each person that lives here. It is vitally important, and it's 10 years worth. It also has impact on our legislative and congressional districts. It's important in so many ways. So it really helps the community. Please, please, please get people to complete the form. You can do that online. There's lots of ways to do it. You can look on the city website and there's information there. So please encourage everybody to do that. That's the end of my report at this point. I'm going to turn it over to our city manager, Mr. Pessimer, for your report.
So thank you, Mayor and councilors. I do have a few things, not a lot tonight, but I did want to talk just a little bit about the night that came to Independence during the day today. We certainly have seen a lot of smoke. Most of it's up high, but some of it is getting down to our level and impacting air quality. We already have staff who are sheltering people. I know some of our staff know people who have had to evacuate up from the area. The hotel is full. The Independence is full because of people who've moved out. I know that the Mid-Willamette Valley United Way is setting up and helping at the fairgrounds and needs supplies and other things. So just a reminder, there are definitely some people out there who are having to shelter through this event. There probably will be more depending on how this all runs out. And so if you have the ability or the time or the means or the desire to help someone out, please look around and find a way to do that. We will try to get more information out as we find it as well. But there are definitely people whose lives have been significantly disrupted who live in our, what I would consider our neighbors, especially in Marion County. And if we can help them out, we will. I've reached out to some city managers to try to figure out what they might need in case they need to set up operations somewhere else or do something. So we will continue to track that because this is all kind of just breaking news, I think, as it comes out. But certainly a lot of impact to people's lives. Just a couple of quick notes. Bias training, that is something that we have talked about, actually diversity, equity, and inclusion training. This is something that we've taken seriously, and we're working with Western Oregon and others to put together some programs. In the meantime, the police department has found a private company that does national trainings, have reviewed the training and found it to be excellent. So they're going to do some training sooner rather than later. They will also do the other training once they get there. But certainly we've heard the message loud and clear that there's a desire to make sure that police departments are current in what they're looking at. So that is something they're going to be doing here in the next few weeks. Just want to let you know that. So a couple of things that were just kind of put out today, and there will be more information coming out, but as a part of the COVID-19 responses, we're still trying to get some technical assistance programs set up. The Indie Idea Hub, which is a partnership with a couple of organizations, are going to be setting up some opportunities for consultants to come in. I've been talking about that for quite a while, but we actually have some specifics to make that happen. And so some of the examples of things that we'll be working on are helping businesses to learn how to print, design flyers, brochures, menus, how to brand identity, digital marketing strategies, e-commerce websites, photography, content development, and customer relations management. So those are kind of the areas that we've broken things down into. We are going to be partnering with the Small Business Development Center and Rural Development Initiatives to provide Spanish-speaking consultants so that we can make sure that businesses who have that are Latino will be able to access this as well. So we're really excited. This was a lot of work to put together, but it's something that we think is really important to help businesses get through and also be better on the far side of the COVID-19. We also are working on a future digital challenge. This is an initiative to provide technical upskilling to ensure residents in communities are equipped to participate in the 21st century digital economy. This will be a free opportunity to anyone in Polk County who's 15 years or older. They can take advantage of Udacity. It is a company that we are working with to provide these digital marketing and web development courses. So this is actually quite a potentially quite a benefit to someone. This program is not super cheap. It can cost up to $1,200 to $1,600 for those who complete a course and who can pass an assessment. They will actually get a scholarship to complete what's called their nano degree program. A lot of language in there. We'll push out some information so people have more specifics on that, but I wanted to just let you know that we're working with Indie Commons and others to basically provide some opportunities for people to to do something during this period of time. Just a quick note for council. We have been working on our floodplain management, and we had DLCD come out and give us some assistance on some of the program stuff that we can do. So we will be updating our permit process and then bringing some ordinances back to council. Ordinances are just a little bit out of date with what they want to see. So you'll see that. There was a question last meeting about the monies in the sewer capital fund, and we looked into that, and really it was fairly straightforward. We started the recycled water use facility project sooner than we had expected. The contractor came available sooner than we had expected, so it ended up starting that project before July 1st of this year, and that pushed into last fiscal year's budget. As you know, we put together the budget usually in February, March, and so we take our best shot at making sure that we know where things are going to be, and we just had a project and an opportunity that came up quicker. And actually, the contractor not only did we get the project up quicker, but the contractor actually did a great job of getting out there and getting things done quicker than we thought. So I think that hopefully answers the question relative to that. And then I'll just point out one thing. If you look in your packet, you will see management meeting notes. We will start putting those in for every council packet, and just want to make sure that you're aware that's there so that you can kind of look through and see what we're talking about in the management team meetings. That's a great way for us to communicate information to you. And then if you have questions, you can ask us. So with that, I will open it up to questions that you might have. Councilor.
I'm going to ask the sewer capital fund question. I'm not sure if your answer answers my question, but I reserve the right to go back and take a look at it, and I'll communicate with you if I don't think it does.
Okay.
Additional questions? Thank you, Mr. Pessimir. Moving forward, we have a public hearing on a real property sale of Lot 7 on Osprey Landing. I'm going to open the public hearing and hear the staff report. Mr. Pessimir, to you.
All right, so this is a public hearing, and which is required by state law regarding real property transfers. We've talked about this a number of times in the past, but I'm going to kind of do a little bit of a review in case someone who's listening is new to the conversation. This property that we have before council and will also be before the Urban Renewal Board tonight, so this presentation will kind of cover both of those, is a part of the Independence Landing project. So the Independence Landing project is the former Valley Concrete site. The city purchased that property quite a while ago, did a lot of things in order to get that property ready for development, and then subdivided the property up and started to sell those properties off as opportunities arise. So I think everyone is aware of the first 4 properties that were sold. There are 8 in total that were broken off in the subdivision. The first 4 properties are for the hotel, and then for the apartment and condo units that are going up there. So that is really the development that you see happening right now. There has been a lot of activity out there. We know that as time goes on, there will be other smaller lots that are mostly on the north side, or excuse me, the west side of Osprey Lane that will be available. And we went ahead and after some conversations decided to put at least one of those lots up for consideration for sale. About a year and a half ago, we've sent out a request for proposals. I should mention, and I forgot about it, is we also have had an agreement on Lot 8, which is Osprey Point. You see Osprey Point starting to move out of the ground here. It's going to move out of the ground here significantly. They're just putting the steel in right now, and then from there, they can frame mostly on top of that. So So that we actually have transacted 5 lots from the Independence Landing subdivision. So a while ago, we did put out a request for proposals to see if there was interest in that property. We had heard that the Elks was interested in potentially doing something there. And we wanted to see if there were other possibilities out there. It's our intent to try to find the highest and best use for those properties. And so we did a request for proposal. We did the best that we could to advertise that and specifically call realtors and such. And at the end of the day, we actually only ended up receiving 1 proposal. That proposal was from Young Development Group. That proposal is actually attached to the back of your packet, so you can see exactly what they proposed. It did meet the requirements of the request for proposal and seemed to be in order. It does propose to construct a building for the Elks on lot 7. It would be a much smaller facility than they have, and the thinking there is they would move into that building and then sell their other building to the same developers, my understanding, to be modified and to be put back into constructive use. So really, I think that is the bulk of it tonight. We are looking at making sure that we're completing all the state requirements, which is primarily having a public hearing. We noticed it in the paper according to what the state law requires. The proposal was to pay the city $18.50 a square foot, which ended up to be $185,000 based on the site. At the end of the project, after it was completed, the developer would deed back a parking lot, which would be completed by the developer, and the city would reimburse them for that. The city would also reimburse them for undergrounding some power lines and other utilities that are out there. And so the city would end up rebating the same amount of the purchase price once those items were completed. I should just kind of mention that this action here is to allow the city manager to sign the disposition and development of real property agreement, which is in your packet. There's a lot to it. I know some of the questions are related, that I've heard are related to what happens if the developer doesn't perform. There are 2 items that kind of protect us. First off, we actually don't transfer the property until the land use has been finished and approved, as well as the construction drawings have been finished and approved. And the developer proves that they have the financial capacity in order to complete the project. So at that point in time, the property would transfer to the developer. If the developer does not follow through with the project, then the city has the option to purchase the property back, which would include, paying for the developer's costs up to that point. So those are kind of the protections that we have. That's similar to the agreement that we did for Osprey Point and others. And so with that, I think that's all I have, but you may have questions.
So do any of the council members have questions of the staff at this point?
Tom, can you remind me again what this proposal scored?
I do not remember off the top of my head. It was a relatively decent score, but if you're taking a look at the score, it had a lot to do about whether or not they had the information that was requested in their request for proposal. So to make sure that they had things like pictures, they had identified what their plan for development was, what type of uses they were going to put in there, and so on and so forth. It definitely, initially, we got an initial proposal, and it was kind of light, so we went back and asked for a second proposal. The second proposal was pretty complete, and so it scored reasonably well. Obviously, there were some questions regarding the use of the property, and certainly if we had things to compare it to, that would have impacted the score one way or another, but we didn't have a second proposal, so it was hard to make a comparison on those particular type of questions.
And just to clarify, sorry, one more question. On Exhibit D of the disposition and development agreement, so it looks like to me they'll have 400 days from, well, about 460 days. 60 days to issue permits or so, 400 days to complete it.
Yeah, and a lot of that time gets, just sucked up through going through the land use process. They still have to go through site plan review and then prepare the construction drawings and get those approved. So, that's definitely plenty of time to do the project, I think. I think we've been gracious there to make sure that it gets done. But at the same time, I think there is some desire on developers' part, and certainly the Elks part, to get this project done as quickly as possible.
Additional questions?
Thank you.
I have a couple of observations. I know, Tom, you said the initial proposal was light in detail. I find this proposal light in detail. There seem to be quite a few blanket statements, maybe templated language that just hasn't been expanded upon, at least not to my satisfaction. We have one commercial developer in town, and I know you did your due diligence to get the notice out there to try to solicit as many proposals as possible, and we only got the one, but I have some real concerns about that.
Additional questions or comments? Okay, I'm going to ask if there's any input from the public. I'm asking the city recorder, did we receive any written information? We did not receive any written information. I don't see anybody in the foyer that is asking to speak. Without objection, I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. Okay, council members, we have, this is an action item.
Well, I would like to say that I am very pleased to see the movement on Lot 8, especially since we're talking about the same developer. And I know that that was no easy piece of property to get developed in the first place. There were a lot of things that came up beyond the development agreement itself. So that gives me some confidence in this particular developer that things are moving forward. And with that, relative to Lot 7, I move that Resolution 20-1538 be adopted as presented.
I have a motion.
I will second that.
Second by Councilor Takis. Is there discussion?
I'm just going to throw in real quickly that I'll be abstaining from this vote due to potential conflict, as I'm a trustee at the lodge and therefore an officer.
So noted. Thank you. Any other comments?
I just wanted to make a comment that one of the things I find attractive about this deal is that it frees up an important property on Main Street that can be redeveloped. So that's the attractiveness to me.
Thank you, Councilor Takis. Anybody else?
And I would just like to add, I think that the idea is exciting, and I'm excited for the Elks. I am, however, concerned that the Youngs have entirely too much on their plate right now. So I'm going to be a no, but excited to see what could happen for the Elks.
I echo Councilor Ransom Smith's comments. I'm going to be a no vote as well.
Okay. Alrighty. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 So that's Hicks, Takis, and Morton. And
Yeah.
opposed?
Nay.
Hey,
That's opposed Ransom Smith, opposed Councilor Kaur, and abstaining, Martin Willis. That's 3-2 with Martin Willis not abstaining, and that counts in a no. So that makes it a tie, which allows the mayor to vote. The mayor votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. We're going to move forward to, are there any announcements that need to be made at this time? I'm gonna, without objection, we'll adjourn this meeting, and then we need to go to the Urban Renewal District and do basically what we just did in the previous mission. So can we adjourn the council meeting?
Move to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed?
Aye.
Was that a okay to adjourn?
Aye.
Yeah, okay, sorry, I just wanted to make sure.
Sorry.
It's okay. That motion carries. There was no objection to adjourning. I now call to order the Independence Urban Renewal Agency. Let the record show that everybody, that all the members are in attendance. You have minutes from the July 14th meeting in front of you, and do they meet with your approval?
I'll move to approve.
Counselor Takis moves. Somebody second.
Second.
Second by Ransom Smith. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And without object, I heard no opposition, the motion carries. Visitor or public comment, are there any? I don't see anybody making visitor or public comment. We're going to move directly to I'm going to open a public hearing related to real property sale, Lot 7, Osprey Landing. Mr. Pessimir, did you want to add anything or say anything as part of the public hearing here?
Yes, Mayor, I do. Just really briefly, pretty much everything that I said before applies to the same action here for the Urban Renewal Agency. The reason that the Urban Renewal Agency is taking action on this item is because when the original property was purchased, the monies came out of the Urban Renewal Fund. So I just, after talking to the city attorney, we felt it best that both entities took action on this just to make sure that it was clear in the record as to that the city and the URA collectively have the ability to transact this property purchase in case any questions ever come up, especially from the title company. I will say that all of the documents are in the name of the city, and the property is technically owned by the city, but there was just out of an abundance of caution, we want to make sure that we don't create a problem down the road.
Keeping the attorneys happy. Since this is a public hearing, is there anybody who has any public statements to make related to this matter? I see no one stepping to the microphone. I don't see anybody else in the outside, and there is no written material that goes to this. Without objection, I'm going to close the public hearing. Okay, this is an action item. If someone would like to propose action, since we already had discussion in our previous meeting.
I move that resolution 2020-02 be adopted as presented.
I have a motion.
Well, I'll
Second.
second that.
A second by Councilor Takis. Is there further discussion? I see no further discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I'm going to back up for a moment. And I didn't do something I shouldn't have done. I'm going to back up here. Councilor Martin Willis, did you want to say something?
Yes, I will also be abstaining from this vote for the aforementioned reasons.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That was my error. So now we're going to move on to the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 That's Morton, Takis, Hicks, yes, and opposed.
No.
No.
Ransom Smith and Core, no. Councilor Martin Willis, Abstains? That's 3, 2, and 1. 1 in our, the abstention counts as a no for the purposes of breaking a tie, making it 3-3, which allows the mayor to vote. The mayor votes aye. The motion carries. Thank you very much. Is there other business that we need to do tonight? If not, someone could say adjourn and we could all go home and stick to this. Well, everybody else is at home.
I'll throw my voice in here. Move to adjourn.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. A motion, a second.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Bye.
And opposed. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Have a pleasant evening.
Good
Good
night.
night, all.